The Bengals are interested in J.C. Jackson. Hi again, everyone. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com and Cincinnati Bengals Talk. And yes, that is the report from NFL insider Jordan Schultz, who says that the Bengals interested in 26-year-old New England Patriots cornerback J.C. Jackson. He's far and away the best and top free agent cornerback on the market. The Patriots did not place the franchise tag on him on Tuesday, which means that Jackson will become a free agent. He will hit the open market, and yes, he's going to have plenty of suitors. The Bengals are interested, according to Schultz, as are the Chargers, 49ers, and Dolphins. And look, we focused a lot of time on offensive line, so would this make sense? Well, I'm going to tell you why I would like the move. And we're talking about a deal that could be pushing 18, 19, $20 million per year. Pro Football Focus projects Jackson to get a 4-year, $72 million contract, and I would imagine it would be around that range. But to me, when I look at the Bengals and I look at where they're at, they're very much in win now mode. I've talked about that a lot. And there's a couple of factors here. Of course, they have to protect Joe Burrow, and I'm going to get to more on that in a second. But if you add J.C. Jackson to the Bengals defense, if you add J.C. Jackson to a Bengals secondary that has Jessie Bates on one side, Vonn Bell on the other side, you're not paying the linebacker position yet, but you got a Logan Wilson and a Jermaine Pratt in the middle of that defense. And it's J.C. Jackson, Chidobe Awuzie on each side, lining up against the team's best receivers with Mike Hilton in the slot. Well, boy, oh boy. You're talking about one of the best secondaries, if not the best secondary in the NFL. Another thought came to my mind when thinking about a potential J.C. Jackson deal, and it has to do with Jessie Bates. Look, the Bengals placed the franchise tag on Jessie Bates, and maybe they view it and they're like, man, he's nowhere near where we are as far as giving him a contract. Let's take that money and try to go get a Jackson, an elite playmaker, and we could keep Bates this year under the tag. We could tag him next year and still pay him $15 million, $15.5 million, and suddenly we have an elite secondary over the next couple of years. Me speculating, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just speculating, but could be the logic is we may lose this elite player in a couple of years. Let's take that money, that long-term commitment, and give it to this guy that is honestly would be the best defensive player, best free agent they've signed maybe ever. I mean, certainly in this run where they've been able to add guys in free agency, J.C. Jackson's the best on the list. I mean, when you look at it, he had 58 tackles and 8 interceptions last season, 17 interceptions over the past 2 years. You're talking about an elite shutdown corner that can take away one side. And Chidobe Awuzie was a lot of that for most of the 2021 season. So if you have both of those guys, maybe you do it. And here's the other thing is Mike Hilton's on a market deal, pretty team-friendly. Chidobe Awuzie, certainly on a team-friendly deal, has 2 years left on his contract. He signed a 3-year, $21 million deal. So it's not like, it would be awful to go after a Jackson or you'd be overspending. And, the part of it is they're going to cut Trey Waynes and free up almost $11 million in cap space. So that helps the cost of a guy like Jackson. They could cut Trey Hopkins, which would free up nearly $6 million in cap space. So you're talking about $17 million in room. You basically could take that and apply that to Jackson in his long-term deal. And from a cap standpoint, that's probably what that first year would be, maybe less than that, probably less than that. So you could do that. And then it would still give you enough money to retain a defensive lineman if you need to and go out and address the offensive line some. So I certainly think there's a path to doing it. And I just think about what the Bengals have done. And I talked to Duke Tobin last week and we aired it. You need to watch the whole thing. But he's willing and they're willing to pay on guys, big money guys. And I look at this free agent offensive line class. They might look at these guys and a lot of them are third contract guys, not second contract guys. That matters because of age. Do you want to pay a 31-year-old big money or a 26-year-old big money? What have the Bengals done over the past couple of years? Well, they've known their offensive line is an issue. They've spent on defense because they thought that those players were worth the money that they were going to get. DJ Reader a couple of years ago, they made him the highest paid nose tackle in the NFL. Last year, they paid Trey Hendrickson and agreed to pay Trey Hendrickson. They signed him to a 4-year, $60 million deal after giving Reader 4 years, $53 million the year prior. Maybe they go this route at cornerback and say, look, there's no blue chipper entering his prime offensive lineman to spend big money on. So we're going to go get J.C. Jackson, give ourselves an elite secondary, and then we're still going to fill in the cracks with proven offensive linemen that don't cost necessarily as much because they're not where we want them to be. Like Teron Armstead, everyone's going to bring him up, and he's going to make a lot of money. And I like him as a fit on paper, but he's been injured. And that's the part of it. If you're dealing with a guy that's been injured a bunch, that's rough. That's tough to deal with. And I look at J.C. Jackson, and he played all 17 games this past year, 16 the year prior, 13 before that. He started 39 games. I mean, he's been really, really high-end player. He has 25 interceptions in 4 seasons, was a Pro Bowler last year, Super Bowl champion. We've seen the Bengals go after guys with playoff experience, guys with Super Bowl experience. Call me crazy, and maybe you will. Sign me up for a little J.C. Jackson if they could get that done. But you still got to protect Burrow. You still got to get proven offensive linemen. I'm not saying that. But if you really want to push the envelope, you really want to go all in, you really want to get a Super Bowl to Cincinnati, bring a Lombardi trophy back to Cincinnati, I think J.C. Jackson, bringing him to town, would certainly help their cause. For more on this, check out allbengals.com. This is what we're going to do here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. We're going to give you the latest updates, thoughts on things. Who knows if it happens, but it's good to hear that the Bengals are interested in a guy like J.C. Jackson. We'll have the latest on allbengals.com and right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. So hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check us out on allbengals.com. And for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien, signing off for now with free agency, well, just over a week away, right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk.